Okay, this is a wonderful question because your question goes to how do we reconcile the Establishment Clause with the Free Exercise Clause? And there's only one way to do it. And that is if government cannot favor believers over non-believers, that means the religious cannot have more rights, but they can't have fewer rights either. So, if the exercise of a religious right of conscience will discriminate against a third party, an employee, a tenant, then to grant that special exemption to only the religious violates the Establishment Clause. I'll give you an example. I did this amicus brief for Americans United in 1995. In California, we have a law. You cannot, if you rent apartments to the general public, refuse to rent to unmarried couples. But two religious landlords, various parts of the state, said, even though I'm renting apartment units to the general public, my religion prohibits non-marital cohabitation, I refuse to rent. Two courts of appeal upheld that. The California Supreme Court ruled that when you do business with the general public, you cannot use your religion to discriminate against customers. Now just think, if that had gone the other way, let's say that I go into a restaurant and the owner says, I'm sorry, I belong to a religion that says I can't do business with atheists, I can't seat you. Now you're having people denied public accommodation because of the religious prejudice of the owner. So the way around that is to say, you can only claim a free exercise of religion mandate to be permitted to do what you want to do if the absence of that means that you get lesser rights. I'll give you an example of a pure free exercise case. In Hialeah, Florida, they passed an ordinance to get at members of the Santeria Church. The ordinance said you cannot kill animals for ritualistic purposes, but you can for all other purposes, even for no purpose whatsoever. You just can't kill an animal for ritualistic purposes. Well, that was targeted to give the Santeria Church lesser rights. So the Supreme Court rightly held that was unconstitutional. So again, the religious, in order for us to have this covenant in America where we're equal before the law, it's not too much to ask the religious that if you have a secular business, you cannot use your individual religious beliefs to discriminate against employees or customers. Now, remember, all these laws exempt the religious institution itself. No one is going to say to the archdiocese of any major city, you have to hire people who oppose Catholicism, or you have to provide for contraception. But the line is, if you're the religious institution itself, you get the exemption. That might even be going too far. But certainly, if you're just a member of that religion engaged in a secular business, you can't impose your religion on others. My father was a former Orthodox rabbi who, when I was born, opened a carpet store in Los Angeles. Imagine if he had said to his carpet installers, I'm not hiring any of you unless you eat kosher, whether you're Jewish or not. See, it doesn't make sense. So what we have to get the religious in America to overcome is their sense of privilege. If the religious agree with us non-religion that we're all equal before the law, nobody's going to pop up and say, hey, everybody else has to observe that law, but because of my belief system, I get an exemption.